welcome back to Dickinson's Real Deal from Royal Wootton Bassett. All this week we're celebrating the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. To mark this special occasion, Lord Ashcroft sat down with the Duke to talk about his world-famous Victoria Cross collection.
I want to introduce you to Lord Ashcroft, an extraordinary man, but more importantly, sir, this amazing collection of Victoria Cross medals that you've put together, the largest collection in the world. 100 and how many in size?
173, David.
What motivated you to buy your very first Victoria Cross?
I'd always wanted to own a Victoria Cross. In fact, when I was a schoolboy and I read that one had been sold, I went to my teacher and talked about it and thought that Michael Ashcroft VC, if I owned one, sounded good. I was certainly told that the VC after your name didn't come with the purchase, but nonetheless, many years later, when I'd made a little bit of money as an entrepreneur, I went to buy one Victoria Cross of leading Seaman McGuinness. And when I bought the Victoria Cross and I sat in my office rereading the story of his bravery, a frisson went through me that perhaps only a collector can appreciate. And whilst my ambition had been to own just one, that day I realized that that was not the end of the ambition. Amazing. It was only the start.
You brought a very, very small selection of them here, and I want you to go through with us who these men were, their feats of bravery. It's just extraordinary. First of all, let's start over here with this set here.
This Victoria Cross of Jackson is a man that was coming back World War II in a Lancaster bomber, and an engine was on fire. And he went through the hatch above the pilot's cockpit with a small fire extinguisher in his belt in order to attempt to put out the fire in the engine, which they knew meant if they did not, they could not get back to Blighty. And he was not successful in putting out the fire. The slipstream, as the aircraft was going at 200 miles an hour, yanked him and his parachute through the fire, lost the extinguisher, and he came down on a blazing parachute. He suffered multiple injuries, but lived.
Amazing.
And so just the visual optics of that is extraordinary.
Let's come to this gentleman here. He was a medic, this man here. Tell us briefly, not only about this award, but you'll notice here, there is a Victoria Cross, but a feat that's been very rarely repeated. There we have Victoria Cross and Bar. This man has gone out and won a second Victoria Cross. How many so far in history have been awarded two Victoria Crosses, of course, to the same person?
There have only been 3, and therefore this is a particular prize within the collection. But this gentleman was of the Royal Medical Corps, and he earned his VCs on separate occasions by going into no man's land between the trenches, rescuing wounded men on innumerable occasions. And the sad thing for Chivas is that he was wounded and went to a rest centre, and it was whilst at that rest centre it was hit by a German shell, and he was mortally wounded, but still managed to crawl back to base and sadly died there.
Then we come forward to this gentleman here. I believe, though no longer in the army, this man is still alive today.
Yes, he is. Matthew Croucher won the George Cross.
Which is there in front of us, not the Victoria Cross, but the George Cross.
Well, the George Cross is meant to be not in the face of the enemy, but it is the same level of bravery to get the George Cross. Now, Matthew Croucher was searching with a group for Taliban weapons, and suddenly he tripped a wire, heard a click of a grenade, and he slipped his rucksack off one of his shoulders and threw himself backwards with his pack against the grenade, which then exploded. It threw Matthew across the room. He had a number of injuries, perforated eardrum, etc., but survived and saved the lives of the other men that were with him.
Okay, and then we come to this one here. Now, tell me about this gentleman here.
Well, this is Lief Robinson. He won this. He was in the Air Flying Corps. He shot down a Zeppelin over London, and he went to attack it. The first few times, the bullets seemed to bounce off the Zeppelin, He had one more go from behind it. He suddenly saw a little red glow, knew it had been hit, and the whole Zeppelin went in fire. People on the ground saw the Zeppelin coming down. He landed, he was treated like a hero. One of the fastest VCs. Within 2 days, he was awarded the Victoria Cross for that action. And it is the only Victoria Cross that is awarded for an action within the United Kingdom, even though it was in the skies.
Amazing. Now, this is just a very small part of the collection. And, I mean, this is something really well worth seeing. There is at the Imperial War Museum a Pacific Room, a special gallery, the Lord Ashcroft Gallery, where all the VCs and all the relevant medals are displayed there. You can go along and see this collection 7 days a week. Do not miss out. It's an absolute joy.
Now that's a proper patriotic day out.
Well, Anne?
Off to Helen's table now, where Anne's brought along a pretty ginger